Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Muhammad Afif bin Muhammad Numimbar. My matrix number is 1203143. So the administration in Islamic law case review individual tasks are, I have picked the case of Abdul Rahim bin Haji Bahaudin versus Chief Qadi Kedah that was issued in 1983. So let's move on to the next slide. So let's move on to the introduction. So in this introduction, there is an overview of the case. So the overview of the case is in this case of Abdul Rahim bin Haji Bahaudin versus Chief Qadi Kedah that was issued in 1983. The appellant challenged the decision of the Chief Qadi regarding a religious matter under Islamic law. The case addressed the jurisdiction and authority of the religious courts in Malaysia, particularly concerning in interpretation and application of Islamic law in religious matters. So the fatwa's decision reinforced the role of the Sharia courts in adjudicating matters within their jurisdiction, emphasizing the importance of adherence to procedural and substantive principles in Islamic law. So the purpose of the review, first of all, is to analyze the legal and procedural issues related to the jurisdiction of Sharia courts in Malaysia. Then, to understand how Islamic law is applied in religious matters. Next on, to understanding about the position between Sharia courts in Malaysia. Then lastly, to understanding the position of fatwa in Sharia courts in Malaysia. So in this slide, I have summarized into 5 important points. That is, first point is Abdul Rahim applied for judicial review to prohibit the Chief Qadi from the Kedah hearing cases against him in the Sharia courts. So the second point is, in March 27, 1983, Abdul Rahim as the applicant was arrested by the official religious department on charges of distributing religious pamphlets and documents about his teaching of Islamic religious, which is Ahmadi. So the third point is the applicant case was charged at Kubang Pasu Sharia Court Jitra for the offences under Section 163 Clause 1 and Section 163 Clause 2 of the Administration Muslim Law Enactment. So the fourth point is the applicant case was here in the civil court instead of Sharia courts because a fatwa that has been gazetted which states that whosoever believes in the teaching of Ahmadi will be considered as apostate. So the last point is the both parties, which is the Muslim Religious Council of Kedah and Sharia courts, agreed that the applicant is not a Muslim. So in this slide, let's discuss about the legal perspective that exists in this case. So the first one is the administrative law. So what is administrative law? Administrative law is the branch of public law which is principally concerned with ensuring that the government or government departments, tribunals and all authorities exercising public law functions act within the parameters of their power. So the position of administrative law in this case, what I can see is Sharia courts must obey what the applicants wants, which is Abdul Rahim, the applicant does not want his case got heard in Sharia courts instead in civil courts. So let's move on to the next legal, which is the Kedah Administration of Muslim Law Enactment. So the Administration of Muslim Law Enactment is a legislation incorporated the Qadi and the Sharia courts and the legislation of religious councils. Many other Malay states follow this suit. So what I can see this law in this case, which is the position of Qadi and Sharia courts, which is they have power to issue the offence that have been done by Abdul Rahim for his offence. So next, let's go to the Courts of Judicature Act 1964, Act 91. So this act establishes the Supreme Courts and the High Courts, which are the two highest courts in the country. So in this case, what I can see is the applicant Abdul Rahim have applied his case to the High Courts and instead from the Sharia courts. So next, let's discuss the position of fatwa in Sharia courts in these cases. So the judges refer to Islamic law as well. If it is not in Islamic law, the judge will refer the fatwa, and if no judge will adhere to the law. The task of the mufti is to issue a fatwa for a lawless condition, so the judge will also determine if there is a fatwa for a new issue. So in this case, what I can see is when the applicant, which is Abdul Rahim, wants to apply his case into the civil courts, because he can do that because the first one, the fatwa has gazetted, which is whosoever posted which is not a Muslim can make his offense here in civil courts or high courts instead from Sharia courts. So let's move on to the implication and recommendation for this case. So imagine if the Sharia courts cannot handle these religious cases, several implications may arise. So like I have stated in this slide, first of all, the legal confusion. So legal confusion, overlapping jurisdictions with civil courts may create ambiguity in the legal process. Next, the community concerns. So the Muslim community in Malaysia may feel that their religious rights are not adequately addressed. Next, the increased caseload. So the increased caseload will make the civil courts may become overwhelmed with additional cases. Next, the erosion of religious authority. So the significance and authority of the Sharia courts may diminish, affecting the application of Islamic principles, personal matters. So next, what is the recommendation for this case? So what I have stated is, first one is clarify jurisdiction, which means clearly delineate the roles of Sharia and civil courts to avoid overlap and ensure proper case handling. Next, strengthen Sharia courts. So with this recommendation, it will enhance the capacity and resource of Sharia courts to manage cases effectively. Next, we must have a public awareness. So by public awareness, we must educate the community about the respective roles and jurisdictions of the courts. Next, the last one is legal reforms. So we must consider reforms to ensure that Sharia courts retain authority over personal and religious matters while upholding constitutional principles. So as for the conclusion of the overall cases, by upholding Islamic values under Malaysia's dual legal structures depends heavily on the role of the fatwa and Sharia courts in the legal system of Malaysia. While Sharia courts have authority over Muslim personal and family problems, fatwas serve as official Islamic instruction. Their assimilation into the wider legal framework is indicative of Malaysia's dedication to respecting religious convictions while upholding legal diversity. By striking a balance between civil law and religious requirements, this dual system guarantees the proper application and observance of Islamic law, therefore promoting social cohesion and legal integrity. So, with this understanding, it will help us more understand about Sharia, the position of Sharia courts and fatwa. So that's all from me. Thank you.